Tropical disturbances turning into hurricanes formed off Africa and heading west. What do you recommend in this situation? Great question. We talked about this a little bit at the beginning of the broadcast. But essentially, number one, you're too far out for the storm to predict where the storm will or will not go, where if it'll dissipate, anything like that. But essentially, if you were to get within 72 hours of your cruise, and the forecast calls for the storm to be in the same place your cruise is, like as in you'll be in San Juan on Tuesday, and the storm is supposed to hit San Juan on Tuesday, then they change your itinerary. But the fact that there's a storm in the Atlantic or the Caribbean, and your ship is in the Atlantic or the Caribbean, doesn't mean that your ship can't sail. They have models, and they move it around and speed it around. It's not their first rodeo, so to speak, and they're able to get around those things. So basically, bottom line, your ship is not going to go near the storm. They're going to sail around it, and that's basically how that works there in a very, very small nutshell. How much is VOOM for an 8-night cruise? Well, the price actually depends on the package you're buying, because the Royal Caribbean sells different internet packages, 1 device, 2 device, etc. And if you purchase it before the cruise, it's cheaper than if you purchase it on board the ship. So no matter what you do, definitely buy it before the cruise to save some money. Any must-try cocktails, drinks? Ooh, I mean, my favorite is always the lava flow with Kraken rum. I'm a sucker for that thing. It's so good. There's Miami Vice, Love Connection. I mean, my favorite is always, there's coffee, which is not bad at all. In terms of secret menus, I don't believe there's a secret menu that I can think of. But whenever you see a printed menu in a bar, like there's Boleros across the way over here, they'll have a printed menu, but that is there's suggestions. It's not the end-all, be-all of what they can make for you. So always talk to the bartender about some options that are available for you. Why is add-on pricing so insane? Ultimate Dining Package for 7-night cruise is $325. It's cheaper to pre-purchase 7 dinners individually than getting an Ultimate Dining Package. Good question. Well, number one, the reason is because it's supply and demand. Basically, there's so much demand for it. People are paying it. Royal Caribbean's experimenting with the price to see if they can get more money. Remember, we love Royal Caribbean, but they are a for-profit company. They are in business to make money. So we always have to remember that fact. And number two, I think the dining packages are just incredibly popular. So that's part of the reason why. Planning on getting my Symphony next year, but worried about rain. I have to choose between the end of May, June, or July. Which do you recommend? I wouldn't worry about rain. It can rain any time of the year. There's no guarantees one way or another. I generally would say that May is a pretty dry month, especially in the Caribbean. It's the tail end of the dry season. Once you get into June and especially July, you get the afternoon thunderstorms and all that. But there's no guarantees. But I would definitely say, if you're truly worried about it and you say, man, I just want to go on a cruise that has the least likely chance of rain, there are no guarantees, I would do end of May in that case. Best way to make cruising friends? Ooh, good question. I would say, there's a lot of ways to do it. Number one, go online before your cruise and join a Facebook group. We have a roll call on our Royal Caribbean blog message boards that you can join. So if you go to RoyalCaribbeanblog.com, click on our message boards, there's a roll call. So you're like, all right, I'm going on Navigator of the Seas, June 16th sailing. And you can meet people online before the cruise even begins. And there are Facebook groups as well that do this sort of thing. And that might, open up an avenue before you even get on board the ship. But once you're on board the ship, bars, the casino, and events are great ways to meet people because you're in a social environment. You're sitting at the bar and somebody sits down next to you. Maybe you strike up a conversation with that person. You're in the casino and you're playing blackjack. Another opportunity to talk to somebody. You're going to one of the activities on board. You get a chance to meet people. So there are plenty of opportunities for it. And I would say those are probably some of the biggest ones. But just like in real life, making friends is a lot of chance. You might talk to 100 people. It doesn't mean all 100 are going to be your friends, right? Maybe you find one along the way. And that makes a difference right there. Going on to Wonder in 2 weeks. My kids are 4 and 8. Based on your past experience, how many hours would your kids spend there when dropped off in the evening hours? My kids, it's funny. They're in Adventure Ocean. So the youngest one is in Adventure Ocean, and the oldest one is now old enough for the teen club. And they've spent like every evening there. They love it. Now, granted, it does help their friends are on board, and that helps them feel like they have more of a impetus to go. But we drop off my youngest in Adventure Ocean, the 8-year-old, right around, it opens at 7, so we'll drop them off right around 7, 7:30, something like that. I picked her up last night at like 11, and she was mad at me. She's like, why are you picking up so early? Can't you come back at 1 o'clock in the morning? Seriously. I'm like, no, I want to go to bed. You're coming home now. So They do a really good job with Adventure Ocean. I've always been a huge fan of it. How difficult would it be to get 50 photos with a cruise? In other words, I want to do a photo package, but not sure if the bigger ones are worth it. Right. So I guess the answer to your question is when you go take a photo, you don't take one photo. They'll take at least 3, 4, 5 photos at a time when you go to the photographer. And if you have a larger family, right, and you start taking different combinations, like first you do the family photos, like 4 of you, and then they do.
Hello to everyone on there.
When they'll do photos with one person by themselves and couples photos and 3 people, so you can juke the numbers a little bit and help that get closer to that 50, but it does require you still to go to 3, 4 photo stops every day, and then you can make it work it. But if you're only on like one photo stop, then obviously not. So it's more on you than anything else. So how was the embarkation in LA? It was fine. It was a little weird. There was a wedding party. I think that kind of didn't mess everything up, but I kind of changed things. Basically, there was a line for suites, and there was a line for the key, and there was a line for different times, 10:30, 11 o'clock. And then we eventually got into what was weird about it was the wedding party went in first, as they usually do. It was a very large wedding party, and then they took the suite line in, and then we sat with everybody instead of having a separate area. So it made like, all right, now everybody in the suite, come on up. And it was a little strange, but it was fine. It wasn't as bad as the last time I was in LA for embarkation, but it's still not as smooth as if you will, as Florida port certainly. But it was fine, totally easy enough. What is a free activity to do in Cozumel? Love the channel, thank you. Free activity. You can go. There are Mayan ruins. You can go to San Gervaso. I don't. Maybe there's a fee to go there, but it's on the island, and of course you need a taxi. I guess it's not that free. I'm trying to think of like a truly like. You can always go downtown. That you can walk there. You'll be sweating quite a bit, but that would be free, and peruse what's around there. I'm trying to think of like, there aren't like beaches that you can certainly walk to. Like a lot of, I love Cozumel, but it's going to require a taxi ride almost certainly to get from point A to point B. So yeah, I think that's part of the honestly what you should expect there. There is a little port area, doesn't require any money, but there's just restaurants and bars and whatnot. What type of activities for teens will there be on Icon? I'm concerned that they're mostly focused on children. Well, there's an entire water park, and I think most teens are going to love that, so that's fantastic. There's of course the teen club on board, and there are also teen activities. So just because, don't look at just the deck plan and be like, that's the limitation of what there is. They'll do like on board this ship, they'll do teen dodgeball, they'll do teen karaoke and things of that nature. So the events are more, there's more to do than simply activities and or venues, I should say. I have a budget of anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000. What cruise would you recommend staterooms are considered too? Man, it's a good question. I mean, that money, it's a lot of money. It's probably much more than most people do spend on their cruise. But you have to, are you including things like, shore excursion, maybe a total budget, shore excursions, flights, hotel, things of that nature. That could be the case. And then, you have all sorts of cabins. I think most likely you're starting with the cabin choice, right? And in terms of which ship to sail on, there's lots of good reasons to pick lots of different ships. I would look at it as what's most important to you? Are you looking to go to the Caribbean? And there's many choices, and you don't really care necessarily about which ship you're on. We're going to Alaska. There's only very few options available. And then, of course, what type of cabins you're looking for. Is it 2 of you? Then there's tons of cabin choices. There's 6 of you, a lot less, and maybe some of those family suites might be more attractive to you. But if you're a first-time cruiser, my general recommendation: 7-night cruise on an Oasis or Quantum class ship, or even an Icon class at this point, would be a really good choice. Oasis, like Oasis, Harmony, Symphony, Wonder, Anthem, Odyssey of the Seas. Those are all good choices for first-timers and a good place to start off right there. So we could only get early dining at 5. Any suggestions? And how long do we have to arrive? Dining at 5 is fine. I mean, listen, early dining is too early and late dining is too late. I'd still prefer early dining because at least then you have the whole evening ahead of you, as opposed to finishing dinner like at 10:30. Or you could do specialty dining if you really, was way like I really want to eat at 7 o'clock. There is my time dining. I'm not a huge fan of my time because you still have to make reservations. You don't have the same wait staff. I prefer to have the same wait staff every night in the main dining room. So if it were me, I would do early. But yeah. So We'll be back with you live next Monday right here on YouTube. Until then, have a great evening, everybody. Stay safe out there. Do something fun, like book another cruise. And we'll talk again very soon right here on YouTube. Bye, everybody.